Just a few months ago, my company, Aquafil, was shortlisted by the magazine Fortune as one of the companies to watch in the Change the World list. And we were the only European company. Well, believe me that in 2008, when we started this incredible journey, was not like that. And especially when at that time, you remember financial crisis, the need of financing was quite high, especially when you had this kind of very expensive projects. So I was used to talk to bankers and trying to explain that I didn't want to use oil any longer, possibly. We make synthetic fiber, so normally we are based on oil. We wanted to use waste. We wanted to use renewable energy. We didn't want to pollute. So I was trying to explain, a different vision of doing business. And the normal reaction was, you are crazy, and the bankers were always running away. As a matter of fact, I am very honest to say that the first time, I'm not kidding, that I had the fortune to listen to Bill McDonough. It was 1998. I ran out of the hall and I said, this guy is crazy, but evidently he was not so crazy. So what is Aquafil actually doing? Aquafil is producing synthetic fibers, especially nylon 6, and for those who could read the book of Cradle to Cradle, nylon 6 is an incredible molecule because it can be recycled in a different way than almost all the other plastics. And as a matter of fact, Econil is a sustainable nylon 6 because it's 100% coming from waste such as fishing nets, carpets, plastic scraps, fabric scraps, garments, all what is containing nylon 6, and can be recycled an infinite number of times. Why? Because instead of remelting the plastics, the nylon, just like you normally do with other kind of plastics, we depolymerize it. So we return to the original building blocks. It means that once we are back one step in the chemical chain, we can apply a purification, solvent-free without any, let's say, harmful substance, and we have a pure molecule exactly like the one coming from oil, without any difference. And this is why we like to say that Econil is endless, because we give endless possibilities to designers, in the sense that we don't need them to say, you have to make it darker, or you can make only black, or you can make it with some limitation. They can make any nylon product as they like, because actually we can repeat practically any nylon product, whether it is a carpet, unfortunately not the one which is under your feet, which it should be changed because it's a little bit old, and we could recycle it, by the way. Out of a carpet you can make, I don't know, a Prada backpack, or a Stella McCartney Falabella backpack, or a pair of sunglasses, or why not your raw material for your 3D printing machine, which sooner or later we all will have it at home. So, you give me a carpet, I can give you the fabric for a garment. You give me back the garment, I can give you the chip to make a molded product. And this is really something that is going beyond the normal recycling. Presently, about 38% of our business, and Aquafil is not a small company in the nylon industry, because we are among the top 10 largest company making nylon fibers in the world. So last year we recycled, or better, we regenerated, as we like to say, almost 40,000 tons of nylon. So it's not, a small exercise. It's a big effort because we have to go all over the places, all over the world. Fishing nets are coming, yes, from Europe, of course, from Norway, where the fish farming industry is quite big. But also we go to Canada, Chile and Patagonia, Southeast Asia, even from Japan, India, Pakistan, Australia, New Zealand, really from every country which has fishing nets. Carpets, on the other side, they come mostly from United States, especially close to California or from California, because in California there is an EPR scheme in place which is making carpet manufacturers responsible for what they are doing, and the California state wants to get carpets out of landfills, as well as other products like bottles or mattresses or other kind of stuff. On the other side, the difficulties of this business, like recycling, thanks to the fact that our product is equally beautiful than, let's say, the normal one, is not to sell, but is to collect waste. Because the waste collection is quite difficult. Why? Because normally what we are recycling today has not been designed, not been engineered with cradle-to-cradle principle. So with the idea at the end to be recycled. So, you know, to dismantle a carpet, for example, like the one which is here laid on the floor, is quite difficult because it is made to last, fortunately. Is quite, let's say, cost ineffective because there are a lot of components that have no value once you separate. And so when you sell them, you don't get a positive net back. But it's quite interesting because, I mean, at the end of the day, you prevent raw materials, precious raw materials, to go to landfill or to incineration, and you give a second life, a third life, and a fourth life. Having no presentation, I would like to conclude saying this. I always like to say that if we want to change the world, we need three basic things. A good legislation, and we have talked a lot today, especially at the beginning, about the importance of having a good legislation. We see, for example, in Norway, the legislation about plastic bottles, which, you know, is requiring a certain way of making them, the deposit system of collection. I cut the story short. I have been told that the recycling rate of bottles in Norway is 97%. So I believe that, you know, why the entire Europe doesn't take exactly the same legislation of Norway, just to make an example. Second point is education, because at the end we are more than 7 billion people living in this planet Earth, so it's not sufficient that only one person or one company is doing something, but we need all of us changing our habits, starting, for example, from the way we feed ourselves, the type of food, the amount of food that we eat. You know, it is so important how much global warming is coming from farming. And then the third point, very important, is eco-design, because if we design products, I like to say, with the end in mind, so understanding what is happening at the end, they don't become waste, but they become secondary raw material. So nutrient for the next cycle, just like it happens in nature. This is, of course, easy to say, not so easy to realize. We have plenty of collaborations in our industry trying to redesign carpets, but also garments. And I close mentioning one very important project that we have just completed with Napapiri Geographic, which is a company of WF Corporation. They design a jacket, their most important and iconic product, which is called Infinity Ski-Doo, with a monomaterial, 100% in nylon 6. QR code, after 2 years you can take it back, not earlier than that, in order not to encourage fast fashion. You will be credited of a certain amount corresponding to the value of the raw material that you can, of course, spend in their shops or run out with the money. At the end, they are trying to collect the jackets once they finish their first use. They will pack them and send them back to us for the regeneration. It's the very first example, but this is possible thanks to the fact that nylon is an extremely performing molecule. I thank you for your patience, having just to listen to me instead of looking at images and films. And if you have any question, I'm here to answer to you. Thank you.
Thank you. We are actually very honored to have you here. And like you just said, we would like to open the field if we have somebody like you here so that you can ask questions. So I'm going to hand down one microphone so you can actually catch questions from our guests. Maybe I'm going to start the
Good questions.
Maybe
Please.
I'll start it off because, there's one, but I'll start it off till The young man has the microphone. My question would be, you just said people called you crazy at the beginning for changing this. How big was your company and how long did it actually take to make these changes? Did you really go extreme? Did you do over years a very slow process? What kind of a complication, what kind of costs did you burden on yourself, and on your company to make this change?
It's a long process. My company at that time was about 350 million euros turnover, with about 12 or 13 plants all over the world. Now we are around 550 million euros turnover, with 16 manufacturing plants all over the world, about 3,000 people. And gosh, we spent already more than 150 million euros. Mm-hmm. So if you want to change these kind of things, it's not free of charge. It's difficult to change big things spending little money. We can't.
How long was it before you saw it go up again?
We actually launched the project in 2009. Mm-hmm. I opened up my capital to a private equity to collect the money, because at that time, as I said, the banking system was not supporting. The plant started up in 2011. At that time, it was about 10% of our production. And now we are close to 40% of our production. We have just gone through a capacity increase this summer, which has been quite expensive. And so we have about 45,000 tons capacity, but already ready to go to 60,000 tons capacity. To change a company like Aquafil may take about 10 years if you have the financial resources and, let me say, the waste to change it. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question concerning the depolymerization. How high is the energy demand compared to, like a, let's say, usual extraction from oil?
It's in terms of energy is less than 50% of the conventional process. And then in all our plants all over the world, even in China, Thailand, and the rest of the world, we use renewable energy, so the global warming potential of our product is about 82-83% lower than the normal one, the one coming from oil.
And do you use any chemistry then, or is it?
No, luckily the depolymerization of nylon 6 happens. Of course, you need energy like steam and a little water that works in a closed circuit, and then just a small percentage of a food-grade catalyst, nothing else. It's a relatively easy process, and it's the yield is also quite high, depending on the level of purity of the waste that you input. So if you give me a pure waste, 1 kilo of nylon waste is 1 kilo of nylon regenerated product. If you give me something dirty, of course I will lose something.
I've heard, this is from somebody who really doesn't have a clue about things. I just, randomly scan through my Instagram and Facebook articles. But I've actually heard that one of the problems now is that, the waste of pure nylon products is actually going down, and that it's actually it's becoming harder and harder to come upon this waste. How do you deal with that? Is that true? Is that, a problem of the future?
Let's say that there are plenty of fishing nets out there.
But how do you get them?
And
or do you get them?
The problem is the collection, but maybe the biggest problem is not the collection, is the sorting, because fishing nets are not only made out of nylon 6, are made also of other nylon like 6,6, polyethylene, polypropylene, polyester, and other fibers. Think about glass recycling. If all the fishing nets all over the world were made all in nylon 6, and they can make them, it's a matter of cost, not a matter of performances, the collection would be quite easy and the recycling super competitive. The problem is just the willingness of changing. And the same is valid for carpet. Unfortunately, nylon is more expensive than polyester. So whenever possible, people, they switch from nylon to polyester because it's less expensive, not because it's more performing. And polyester, for the time being, is not recyclable in the same way. You can recycle bottle, you can make bottle to fiber, but then you make fiber to landfill. You don't make fiber to fiber again like we can make with nylon. So there are still a lot of possibilities, But for sure, the collection and the sorting is our very first problem to tackle. So if you help me to change the industry and to use only nylon 6 fishing nets and carpets, we could recycle more than 4 million tons per year of plastics. 4 million. So it's not small at the end of the day.
No, it's huge. Do we have any more questions from the audience? No? I would like to know, so you say it's a question of sorting, like you just said, you know, if it were pure nylon nets, but how do you, is it a lot of NGOs you work with? I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, I mean, yes, you say there's a lot of fishing nets, and I know there's people collecting them, but I don't know very big, or are there big companies already which are dragging them?
When you deal with fish farming, there can be also big companies.
Okay, so it's actually...
But we work, and also with fisheries very often. I don't know, you think about the tuna industry. Tuna industry has big players. There are more than 800 boats fishing tuna outside. And the tuna fishing industry is more than 15,000 tons per year of nets, nylon nets. Very few people know where they end up. They say that they are going to landfill. I have some doubt, you know. Not to say that I'm sure that they don't, but nevertheless, we collaborate also with some NGOs, mostly in order to create awareness, because it is very difficult to collect dozens of thousands of tons through NGOs, unfortunately. But
of course,
it is a very good system. For example, we have professional divers that during their free time, they go and rescue ghost nets in the Mediterranean area. And today, they have enough money, and there are more than 100 professional divers. And then also we collaborate with the Zoological Society of London, and they work in the Philippines and Indonesia and Borneo and in Cameroon in Africa. And they teach to local communities that instead of throwing fishing nets away, they can collect, prepare, and send them to us, and we pay. So it's not a charity for us, but we pay for the fishing nets.
So basically, I'm taking, like in panel 2, I'm taking with me that we need from politics, we need more rules to say that we need packaging or products which are from one product alone so that they can be recycled. I'm also taking that if you buy your salmon or tuna steak, you should not only check that it's, you know, from a good breeding ground, but now we should also check that's from nylon nets. That's the next one. It shouldn't be polyester nets. They should do nylon nets only. That should also be on the package. We want that stamp on top of it. And I'm taking with me that Econyl is a company I'm really going to watch out for. Thank you very much for being here. I know you have to run back, but it was an honor for us to have you here today. And thank you very much for changing your world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.